which is the business, the language of business. And unfortunately, we do have a lot of folks in the county that are that may not have English as their first language. And I think we need to do everything we can to change that, because I think it is very important that, with not only with respect to the business of the county, but in so many other areas that we deal with, you've got to have a good functional working knowledge of English to really be able to be successful at that. And so I don't know exactly what you can do right now, because so much of that, at least at the county attorney level, because so much of that is driven by state law and even federal law. And unfortunately, as attorneys, we have to enforce the law as it currently exists, because we are officers of the court in that regard. So sometimes we're asked to enforce laws that we may not totally agree with. But until we can work with our legislators and at the state and federal level to change it, that's something we have to deal with. But I do think it is a very noble goal and something that we should all strive to do to make English be the primary language, not only for business but for voting issues and everything.
I will have to say, with regard to the county attorney's office, we obviously can't directly make that change. I think indirectly what we have to do is just support our state legislators, Larry Gonzalez, Dr. Schwerker, as well as Congressman Carter at the White House, to make sure that we don't get into that position where all of a sudden we're having to translate everything into Spanish or some other language. I keep wondering one of these days, I know in some forms that we see now, even from the state, when we get those, the front side is in English and the back side is in Spanish. When the Attorney General's office sends out those child support notices when they're delinquent, they send out a letter that's in English and they send out a letter that's in Spanish. I'm hoping that at some point we don't have to have plea forms when we do the criminal cases, that there's a form for Spanish and a form for English. We don't need to get to that point. English is our language. We need to stick with that, and we need to support our legislators to make sure that we're not pushed into doing those kind of things. It's just not only going to cost us money, but it's something that we just shouldn't have to do.
I would agree. I would love to see it happen. Unfortunately, as county attorney, I don't know that there's much we can do, but I can inform you of the consequences that we have in our courtroom, and I don't think even making English national language would solve that. If someone comes in that's not here legally, they have due process through our courts, because of the whole process of our justice system. You would be amazed at what it costs in taxpayer money. Because say everyone at this table, including myself, were involved in a criminal offense. Somebody committed it, everyone else witnessed it. The state law requires that I have to have an interpreter during trial for each one of them in the courtroom, being paid to be there, whether they're testifying or not. And that doesn't just go for Spanish, that goes for Mandarin Chinese, for Russian, and these are interpreters that we've had to find. But I don't think that even if we do that, it's going to solve that, because we're still going to have to provide that. Now, what we wouldn't have to provide is, we wouldn't have to provide forms in every one of those languages. So if we don't do it, that's where we're headed. Forms in each and every dialect that's possible in the world. I don't think I want to do that, but I think we're going to continue to have to provide translation services. And let me give you the example. We have a lot of folks that come in that are deaf, and we have to provide sign language interpreters. I don't think anyone would argue with that. The same concept applies to other dialects, because we're looking at taking their freedom or removing them and giving them to ICE and removing them from the country. We're going to have to continue to do that. It's a drain on the resources here locally. So, love to do it. I'll help out any way I can.
Is that for all of them?
Yes, that's what that's for.
Is that working? Our language binds us together as a social fabric. Winston Churchill said that the English language saved the world in World War II. It brought America and Britain together. I think it can save the world again. All across the world we fight. And over here in Texas, right deep in the heart of Texas, we're printing forms in Spanish, and we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars of taxpayer money to cater to a subculture. Now, we enjoy our Hispanic heritage, all of our Hispanic heritage. I am also a fifth generation Texan like Lisa, and we know that we depend mightily on the Hispanics that come and contribute to our economy. However, it's very important that we make English the national language. And we have to promote resolutions that get the point across to our legislators that we want English to be the national language. When we do that, and I think it will come, we will ensure the safety of not only ourselves, but the world. Otherwise, the multiculturalism will take over. The United States, as we know it, and as our forefathers intended, will cease to exist, and you will be printing those Attorney General letters in Swahili as well.
I think your question was what can we do to help?
Make English the official
The
language
official
of government of Williamson County.
Williamson County.
Yes.
Well, we are an extension, the county government is an extension of the state. We have any authority we have comes from the state. At the same time, the state sees to it sometimes to pass down unfunded mandates, and some of the things that have been talked about here today are included. And so I think the answer to your question is I'm in support of English being our official language. As a county government, we don't have the authority to make it that, but we can work with our state legislators and our federal legislators to accomplish that goal. I've had a track record of working with our state. In fact, I didn't mention it earlier, but we passed a bill this past session to give TxDOT deadlines for environmental review. I mean, that's an example of how we can work on an issue that's important to us here locally, work with our state legislators, and also work with the guys in Washington to accomplish that goal too. This is an important thing. There's a lot of money spent on this issue, not just at the county level, but in our schools. Everything is duplicated, and it's a costly thing. I think the school kids need to learn English as early as possible. And I believe that in some schools are going that direction. So I believe that it's an important issue. I think from our perspective, we just need to work with our legislators at the state and federal level to accomplish those goals like that issue.
I agree with everybody else. I believe English is important. I used to teach language arts in elementary school, and then I also taught English as a second language to non-English speaking 4-year-olds for several years. And so they had a lot of different languages that they taught, and I do think that I agree working with Congressman Carter, State Representative Gonzalez, and everyone else on making it the official language. But I do think the thing we also have to do is I see my good friend and supporter Terry Romero over there, who's one of the few conservatives on the Round Rock ISD school board. And what we need to do is elect conservatives to the school board so that the school board lets the children learn English at a very early age, because it helps them economically, it helps their families, and I think that's another important thing that we can do. And I have done that and will continue to support other conservatives in office.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to have final comments from the candidates. 1 minute.